giving you useful and practical tips to help you make more money selling travel. This is the Art of Selling Travel Podcast, and here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Hey, welcome back to another episode. I am so excited to chat with you this week. We are going to talk about upselling. Now, this is one that I get a lot of questions about. You know, there's a difference between switch selling and upselling. Switch selling and upselling sometimes can really and truly overlap, at least for a lot of people, you know, in terms of I want to sell them this brand because it's better. That can fall into the switch sell. So sometimes switch selling and upselling are somewhat of the same, but for this particular episode, I want to focus on the upsells when you already have kind of that core dynamic. So let's say you were booking cruise B and choose insert name of whatever cruise you want to put there. But let's say you were selling them cruise B on itinerary ABC, whatever that is. Now, what are some of the things that you can do for upselling? Well, actually, let me just start off. Upselling is quite often thought of as icky. This is what they asked for. Why would I offer them something else? Well, again, they've asked for cruise B and itinerary XYZ, and you've done your consultation. So you know that, yes, that is a good fit and that you're not going to need to switch sell them to cruise line E or F or something of that nature. You're going to stick with cruise B and you're going to stick with itinerary ABC. So the upselling, they may have asked for an inside, or they may have asked for, we just need an ocean view or an obstructed. Like, we don't need anything. I would hear people all the time, I'm not going to spend any time in my stateroom. Why on earth would I spend the money? Well, there are so many reasons for a lot. And I actually hear this a lot when I am doing speaking events around the country and other such. I personally, not me. This is what I hear from advisors, not me. They will say to me, I personally stay in an inside, so I feel really weird telling them to book a balcony. Well, there's a couple of differences to that. First off, I'm going to say advisors as a whole, or at least the advisors in my community, tend to book a lot more balconies. We're getting ready for Accelerate at Sea, getting ready to open that up this week or next. This week for the waitlist, next for the rest. But I sent out a pre-email to the waitlist and said, okay, I just want to make sure I'm holding the right staterooms. What are we looking for? Because I got all balconies. And I would say 95% came back as I want balconies or above. And then we had a couple that, we want the inside or we want the ocean view. It depends whether or not I'm allowed to bring this person. If I can bring this person with them, I'm going to want something nicer. If it's just me and I'm going to be in class all day, then I want just an inside. We all have our reason for it. But what we have to remember is this is not our wallet. This is our clients. But more importantly, our travel experiences as being a part of the travel industry is very different than the average client most travel advisors have, possibly even the average client that you have. See, a lot of travel advisors I know, once they get going, if you're brand new, do not think that you are going to hit the ground running traveling every second month or every month or something like that. That's not how you build a business. You've got to get the business built. That's another episode. We'll do that in another one. But for today, the reality is the longer you've been in travel, the more travel experiences you've had. I do know that when I owned my own office and the machine was pumping, we had the staff in place, we had the team in place and everything else. Between my own personal travel, which, was a couple times a year, all of my conferences that I attended was multiple times a year. I discovered I was really never home more than 8 weeks at a time before I was off on the road again. Again, I was also hosting groups and I was taking groups on ships. I was taking groups on coach tours and this, that, the other. So I was constantly traveling, which means I have been extremely fortunate to have traveled to multiple destinations around the world. A lot of the clients that I was serving at that time, this was maybe their once a year or once every 2 years trip. So when you compare that to if it's a client that's only traveling once every 2 years, to the fact that I was traveling 6 to 8 times a year, we're talking 12 to 16 times that I would travel for every one of theirs. So if I took a lower category, that was because of the volume of trips that I was doing in comparison to that one extra special trip that the client was booking. And so when I look at a lot of the pricing, or when you're looking at the pricing, a lot of times it's not as big of a difference as our clients are thinking. So we want to make sure that we're at least letting them know why they might want to consider that. And for you, you're going to have to figure out your own verbiage on that. But things when it came to balconies, when I travel with my husband, it is a non-negotiable. It is a balcony or above, but with a balcony. We need that outdoor space. And so when we do that, it is partly because, well, one of us is getting ready. You've got the hair dryer blowing. You've got this at the other. The other one is sitting on the balcony, enjoying the peace, enjoying the quiet, enjoying the space, so that there's just more room for each to get ready as we get ready to go out for date night and things like that. So it's painting that picture for your clients. It's giving them something to envision, so that they have that additional space, so that they have that separated space. When I worked in my office full time, I put in a lot of hours. My office was open 6 days a week. And for some reason, I felt an obligation to be the one that was there 6 days a week. You burn out real fast when you were working 6 days a week. And it wasn't that I was going home when the rest of the staff did, because I had by far and away the largest part of the sales. So in which case, I was there well after them. And I don't say that as a badge of honor. In fact, I can tell you that's part of why I coach the way I do, is I don't want new travel advisors or even existing travel advisors to go through that. But again, that's another podcast. Man, I should be writing these down as we're going. But so we want to go through the upselling. We want to make sure that we're giving that to them. It's not about being icky. And the other thing that I hear from a lot of advisors is, but what if that makes them say no? But what if that makes them say yes? Have we ever thought of that? We don't want to be the gatekeeper of a better experience because of our own fears that we might cause somebody to say no. If we already have them excited and anticipatory, why wouldn't we give them the options to create an even better experience? When I do renovations on my home, I don't go into the flooring store and they just stick with that bottom grade, like that's the one. No, they're going to explain to me, why would I want to buy a higher grade floor? Why would I want to buy this type of floor versus that type of floor? Why would I want to consider, even though they're all a vinyl or they're all a hardwood or they're all a whatever, why is each one? Why would I want to upsell? Why would I want to put on underlay? Why would I want to put on all of these other sorts of things? Why would I want to add that when I already picked out a floor? It's because it improves the quality of the floor. It improves the durability of the floor. It improves the experience that we're going to have. And if you're already going to spend X amount of money, why wouldn't you want to spend that little bit extra, or at least have the option to consider it for yourself, when it can create such a much better experience? So again, if we go back to what if you were taking your clients from just okay vacations to absolutely memory-making, unforgettable experiences, simply by putting options in front of them. Now, we also want to be really careful that we are not over delivering options. It's a fine balance, but we want to make sure that we're putting the options of an upsell in place, but that we're not doing it to a point where they're like, there's too many options, I can't decide. Another pushback I get from travel advisors, but those aren't necessarily commissionable, to create or to add in something where you're going to set up their transfer, and maybe the transfer is not commissionable, or maybe you're going to help them do reservations at a special restaurant or help them get their spa booked. things that you can do that are going to give you that quote unquote best customer service that you probably already put on your website. This is where it comes through. And no, not all of that is going to be commissionable. Some of it is. There's ways to do it. But your business, better yet, your clients should never, ever be held to whether or not something's commissionable, because then you're doing them a disservice. If you're working with a tour operator, you're working with a land provider, a cruise line, whatever it is, and they are going to offer commission, hallelujah. That is amazing. Go for it. But don't ever sacrifice the quality of experience that your clients are going to get because of the amount of commission you're going to get. That's why you would charge fees. If you're not charging fees or you're uncomfortable charging fees, a really great way to position it is, when I charge my clients fees, better yet, the reason that I charge my clients fees is so that they're not held to only what I get paid on, because not every supplier, not every experience, not every option out there will pay a travel advisor. And the reason why I charge fees to my clients is, in addition to the fact that I'm going to be here from beginning right through to the end, but more specifically, I'm not held to only booking things for you where other people will pay me. When you pay me directly, it means I'm able to book the very best experience for you, not just what's going to get me paid. And that's a really big differentiator. And I know there's possibly a travel advisor or two that's listening to this that's saying, I don't do that, but I am in those Facebook groups, and I know that the majority of non-fee charging advisors are very specific to only looking for things that are going to pay them fees. Or worse yet, they then end up with a resentment. Oh, I had to book this, but then I don't even get paid. Like, can you believe this? Like, what a waste of my time. I promise you, you might say that you're only thinking that and you're only saying it inside of Facebook groups, but I promise you that energy is transferring over to your clients, and they are going to feel that. You want to be in a position where you are being properly compensated by those that you're working for. And that is your clients, not your tour operators, not your cruise lines, not your suppliers, not your consolidators, not any of them. You work for your clients. You work for and with your clients. Okay. So if you know what it takes to make the experience better, why wouldn't you at least offer? Why wouldn't you offer them, now that you've chosen this property? And again, some of those upgrades are going to take place after you've made the book, or after you've got the first level of commitment. So they've chosen that cruise line and itinerary, or they've chosen this destination with this property. Okay, now that we have that, what would you think about what do you think about upgrading to get a better view? What do you think of having a swim out view or a swim out room or an ocean view? How does that feel? Ask them what they think of that. How do they feel about it? Not for this much more, you can do this. Would you ever consider what would that look like? How would it make you feel to have that? Ultimately, your clients may say no to an upsell. That's okay. But they might also just say yes. The number one thing you might actually learn in that conversation is that your clients actually wanted more than what you were offering. In reality, there is conversations in the sales world where if you didn't get a no, you didn't ask for enough. I was reading a book, and right now I can't think of what it was. I am going to have to re-find that book. I think it's when I will find that book and post it on my Facebook for you. But I think it's when they say getting to yes or something of that nature. But it talks in there about when he had a job selling men's clothing, and the regional manager was in, and he got a client. And so the guy was so excited because he sold like $1,200 or $1,400 or something worth of clothes. And the client said, yes, 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 yes. And he was so proud of himself when he went, because he did this in front of the regional manager. And the regional manager said, wow. Or the guy said, are you proud of me? And the regional manager said, wow. What did he say no to? Nothing. Isn't that incredible? And the regional manager looked at him and said, well, then that sounds like you probably could have still sold him, that he was probably looking for more things. You probably could have still kept selling. And that really kind of struck me. I'm like, he's right, because he didn't say no. And so is there something else? I know I've gone to stores where there's so much stimulation where I don't even see what all's in the store. But when I get a sales clerk that brings me things, I spend significantly more than when I'm on my own. Is it because they're forcing me to? No, they made me aware of what my options are. They made me aware of what was possible. And more importantly, they simplified the process for me. Those clothes were already in the store. But when somebody brought them to me, they paired them up. They said, this goes with this. And then if you trade this out, you can wear this together. And then we've got these accessories. Now they've pulled it all together. I was like, wow, I'll take it all. Because before I might have just bought that shirt, but then depending if I wasn't wearing the right bottoms when I was trying that on, it might not have looked the same. But when they pull it all together, I remember one trip in particular, my husband calls it the pretty woman experience, because we went to Las Vegas and I went to a specific store down there. We were there, I believe, for 4.5 hours. I have never, as a plus size woman, ever had an experience before or since then that was like that. And when we were done shopping, we had to go buy not one, but 2 suitcases to bring everything home. I have never in my life loved shopping the way I did that day, because they were so amazing. Their service was phenomenal. They were constantly, okay, now if you trade this out and you swap that and we do this and you can put this together, and look at how all of that goes together. It was absolutely amazing. At no time did I feel like they were pushing it on me. Instead, the whole way through, I felt like they were helping me, that they were showing me better ways of being able to pair things. They were showing me how to use it so I could get a better usage of my clothes. It was truly the best shopping experience I've ever had. Your clients deserve to have that experience. They deserve to know what it would take for them to be able to get that same type of experience. Next time your clients come to you and you've gone through the consultation, you've narrowed it down, don't be afraid to offer them the upgrade. You just might be surprised at what comes. Years ago, as a closing here, I was at a conference and the travel advisor that was on there said every quote they sent out, they put a PS at the bottom. And it was an amazing, amazing upgrade luxury option in the proposal. And just shooting for the stars, if you liked above, maybe check this one out too. It always planted the seed that got the clients thinking about a higher quality, a higher level, a higher caliber. That is a great way to get yourself positioned as an amazing advisor who's thinking not just about the client for today, but where your clients are going to be in another year or 2 or 3. Until next time, we'll see you later. Happy selling.